We've mentioned this before and we will mention it again. The reason for the Israeli aggression upon the Gaza Strip has been to defend themselves. We are attacking Hamas. We are trying to destroy Hamas. That has been the narrative so far. However, pro-Palestinian activists are not only saddened by the situation in Gaza, they are also saddened and distressed and alarmed by the situation in the West Bank. And by the way, Hamas does not exist in the West Bank. Before October the 7th, there were 3 incidents of settler violence against the Palestinians in the West Bank every single day. 3 a day before October the 7th. After October the 7th, this number of 3 increased to 8 incidents a day of settler violence against Palestinians. 152 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank since October the 7th. It doesn't seem far-fetched to argue that the Israeli campaign inside of Gaza has emboldened settlers inside the West Bank to also increase in violence towards Palestinians. Palestinian families have mentioned that they have received letters threatening them to leave or else. In a BBC report, we can see that one particular letter read the following: "To all the rats in the sewers of Qusra village, we are waiting for you and we will not mourn you," the text said. "The day of revenge is coming," the letter also mentions. The previous day, in the same village, in Qusra village, Palestinians had been killed at the hands of Israeli settlers. One of the things that we should highlight about this type of rhetoric we can see in this letter is the Palestinians are being called rats, i.e. they are being dehumanized. And we know from history, dehumanization has often led to the genocide and killing of many people. The Guardian has also reported likewise violence incidents by Israeli settlers towards Palestinians. For example, settlers invading Palestinians, slaughtering their flocks of sheep and injuring a further 6 Palestinians. A question arises: are these acts of violence by Israeli settlers towards Palestinians sporadic events? Are they random events? Are they independent from the actions of the State of Israel? Despite being illegal under international law, these settlements are built, authorized, and protected by the Israeli government. The argument is that these settlements act as a buffer for Israel's national security. They restrict the movement of Palestinians and they undermine the viability of a Palestinian state. Just yesterday, we saw the Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich officially lobby the Israeli government to prevent Palestinians in the West Bank from harvesting their crops. His request was for zones to be established, which are called sterile security zones that Palestinians cannot enter. Essentially, what we have here is a request, an official request, for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from these areas. I mean, even if we look at the language, the area will be sterile. A sterile security zone. Sterile from whom? Sterile from Palestinians, from the Palestinian disease. The fact that such a request can be made so publicly shows that there is a culture of oppression towards the Palestinians in these patches of land within the West Bank. Just as an example, take the case of Ahid Tamimi's father, Basim Tamimi. He was abducted last month and his whereabouts are still unknown. All of this takes place within a culture of violence. Of examples we will show you. For example, police regularly beating Palestinians living in the West Bank, like these images from Hebron. Children as young as 9 years old being detained by Israeli officials. Unarmed civilians like 65-year-old man, 65-year-old Majdi Awad are used as shooting practice by Israeli soldiers. Even Jewish people who are anti-Zionists are being brutalized by Israeli police. Once again, we must return to our beginning point, our starting point. What is the reason for Israel's assaults on the Gaza Strip? Hamas. We are trying to defend ourselves from Hamas. Well, pro-Palestinian activists will ask the simple question: there is no Hamas in the West Bank. So why are these acts of violence taking place in the West Bank? Whilst the longing for a second Nakba in the West Bank continues to be touted by Israeli settlers, the case of Palestinians continues to grow worse and worse.